Welcome to Mr. Rollin Storytime. Today's story is again by one of my most favourite authors, Anthony Brown. We read recently the story of Gorilla. This is another one of my favourite books. It's called Into the Forest. Now, this story follows a very similar format of some of the fairy tales you might be used to, like, for instance, Little Red Riding Hood. However, it tells a different take on the story, and as with all of Anthony Brown's books, the key thing to look out for are the visuals in the book. So let's begin. One night, I was woken up by a terrible sound. The next morning, all was quiet. Dad wasn't there. I asked Mum, when was he coming back? But she didn't seem to know. Ooh, Mum looks a bit sad. I missed Dad. These are all the things he's trying to say to his dad. Leaving little messages. The next day, Mum asked me to take a cake to my grandma, who's poorly. I love Grandma. She always tells me such fantastic stories. There were two ways to get to Grandma's house. The long way round, which took ages, or the short way through the forest. Don't go into the forest, said Mum. Go the long way round. Do you think our protagonist, the little boy, is going to go the long way round or take the shortcut through the forest? What do you think? But that day, for the first time, I chose the quick way. I wanted to go home. I wanted to be back home in case Dad came back. Now, that forest to me looks really scary. Ooh, I don't know if this is going to end well. Let's see. After a short while, I saw a boy. Do you want to buy a nice milky moo cow? He asked. No, I said. Why would I want a cow? I'll swap you for that sweetie fruitcake in your basket, he said. No, it's for my poorly grandma, I said, and walked on. I'm poorly, I heard him saying. I'm poorly. There you go. Again, looking at the little images there. As I went further into the forest, I met a girl with golden hair. What a sweet little basket, she said. What's in it? A cake for my grandma. She's poorly. I'd love a lovely cake like that, she said. I walked on and could hear her saying, but it's lovely. It's a little cake. I'd like one just like that. Who do you think this character could be? It says she has golden hair. Who do you think? The forest was becoming darker and colder, and I saw two other children huddling by a fire. Have you seen our Dad and Mum? The boy asked. No. Have you lost them? They're cutting wood in the forest somewhere, said the girl, but I wish they'd come back. As I walked on, I could hear the dreadful sound of the little girl crying. But what could I do? Two children that have lost their mum and dad. What fairy tale does that perhaps remind you of? I was getting very cold and wished that I'd brought a coat. Ooh, it's cold. Suddenly, I saw one. It was nice and warm, but as soon as I put it on, I began to feel scared. I felt that something was following me. I remembered a story that Grandma used to tell me about a bad wolf. I started to run, but I couldn't find the path. I ran and ran deeper into the forest, but I was lost. Oh no, what's going to happen? Where was Grandma's house? It's starting to snow. Can I have a look a moment? Can you see anything interesting in the pictures? At last, there it was. Can you see Grandma's house? I knocked on the door, and a voice called out, "Who's there?" But I didn't really sound like Grandma's voice. It didn't sound like Grandma's voice. It's me. I brought cake from Mum. I pushed the door open a little. Come in, my dear, the strange voice called. I was terrified. I slowly crept in. There, in Grandma's bed was... Now let's stop and pause a moment. What do you think might be in Grandma's bed? We know a story, Little Red Riding Hood. What happens in that story? Have a think, pause the video if you need time. Let's see what happens. It was... Grandma. Oh? Come here, love, she sniffed. How are you? I'm all right now, I said. Then I heard a noise behind me and turned around. Could this be it? What do you think it is? It was Dad. I told him everything that had happened. We all had a hot drink and I ate 2 pieces of Mum's delicious cake. Then we said goodbye to Grandma, who was feeling much better now. I would be after the cake. When we got home, I pushed open the door. Who's there? A voice called. It's only us, he said. And Mum came out, smiling, giving us a big hug. The end. Oh, I really like that story because it's normally in a story like that you have the big bad wolf. It tells the tales, or at least some snippets of the typical fairy tales you might be used to. Now, in this story, there are at least 3 fairy tales that I can think of. What fairy tales do you think Anthony Brown used as a basis for this story? Could you put it in the comment section below? I'll give you one first. We know it's Little Red Riding. What are the other 2? Or maybe you can think of more that he uses here, because there's a lot of influence in this book. As always, thank you for watching, and goodbye for now.